How's it going, everyone? Mystery here, and welcome back to another episode of Mystery Talks Movies, a series where I explain movies that I've seen and I can give my own opinions on them. And as always, guys, make sure you don't forget to like the video and subscribe so that you don't miss any more content. And without further ado, let's get right into it. For today's movie of discussion, I'm going to be going over the film The Labyrinth. This movie came out in 1986 and was directed by the one and only Jim Henson. So this is a pretty fun fantasy movie, and let's get to it. So after the opening credits, which features a poorly rendered and animated CGI owl, we're greeted with the movie's main antagonist, a teenage girl named Sarah, played by Jennifer Connelly. She spends a lot of time at the park, wearing dresses, wearing lipstick, and reciting the book that she really likes. It's The Labyrinth. It's what this movie is based on, I think. Anyway, she's then running late because she has to babysit her stepbrother while the parents are away. And so Sarah is then really upset for being forced to babysit her brother. She tries to comfort him for a little, but he just wouldn't stop crying. And so she starts reciting the book again, where apparently the goblins from the book, the apparently bad guy minions or whatever, they kind of heard the whole thing and they're like, oh, she's gonna say the lie, she's gonna say. And then at one point she's like, I wish the Goblin King would take you away. And then once she leaves the room so that the kid can go to sleep, just couldn't hear crying anymore. And so she goes up to the room to kind of check on it. And so Sarah just kind of goes up back to the room to see if Toby's okay. And as she notices that, the kid's not there anymore. You do hear a lot of giggling from the goblins, which are now hiding around the room somewhere. A lot of crazy stuff happens, and then suddenly the bedroom window opens and an owl comes flying in. And then it shapes up to form a person. Apparently this is none other than the Goblin King himself, Jareth, played by the one and only David Bowie. And for those of you that don't know, David Bowie was a pretty big musician from throughout the 70s and the 80s. And Sarah was like, what'd you do to Toby? And then Jareth is like, well, I did what you want. I took him away. He's chilling in my castle right now. Tell you what, if you let me keep him, I'll give you one of those weird shiny balls that can be used as some kind of gravity toy that I've seen on infomercials as a kid. You know the one. And then she's like, no, bring me back my brother, you son of a gun, or whatever. And then he's like, all right, fine. You know what? Let me try and do something about this. All right, tell you what. You have to, if you want your kid back, you're gonna have to go to my castle and get him. And of course, you have 13 hours to do so, but it'll be very difficult considering the castle is surrounded by this giant labyrinth that is really difficult. So she's like, sure, whatever. So she walks through it for a little while, and she's having trouble finding the exits or the entrance to the labyrinth. And there Sarah is then greeted by a little, a grumbling creature by the name of Hoggle. It's a weird name. Anyway, he's just chilling around, shooting bug spray at fairies, and then she's like, What? Why are you doing that? That's that thing to do. They should be like granting wishes or something. And it's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, hey, you wouldn't mind telling me how to get into this labyrinth, do you? Oh, sure, the door's over there. And then the door just suddenly comes up. And then Sarah's like, well, you're gonna, hey, you wouldn't mind helping me out, would you? And then Hagel's like, no. And then they kind of goes back outside the maze, and the door shuts. And so now Sarah's stuck in the labyrinth. She starts walking in the labyrinth for a while, but here's the thing. The way she entered it, it kind of looked like a straight line. It just went on and on forever. It was really trippy. And there's like no turns or anything. And so she gets stumped. She's like sitting against the wall, trying to think this through, where a little worm eventually comes up and greets her. Yeah, one of the fun things I like about this movie is that throughout the movie, Sarah's greeted by a fun little group of puppet, creatures that kind of just show up and help Sarah on her quest. The first of which is the worm. He kind of teaches her how to navigate the maze, like how to see all the turns and stuff. Is like, you wouldn't happen to know where a turn is, do you? Oh, sure, it's right there, but there's nothing there. That's a wall. That's what they want you to see. You should try for yourself. Not everything is as it seems here in the labyrinth. And then so she finally discovers the turn and kind of progresses through the labyrinth. So here's a fun little thing to point out. The worm had like one thing I liked about the worm is that, well, he is very small, but he also had like a cute scarf on him. That's cute. And so after a while, she goes through the labyrinth. A little bit of terrain and architecture changes a little, and well, there are a few twists and turns, and she uses the lipstick she got and kind of marks her way through the maze to kind of like help her figure it out a little bit faster. But, it didn't do very much because, there were apparently little people living under the tiles, and they kind of like moved the tiles a little, so they kind of like screw the markings up. And all while that's happening, you cut back to the castle. Of course, Toby's there crying, surrounded by a bunch of little goblin creatures, and Jareth's there too. And this is one of my favorite parts. Jareth and the goblins, they have like a fun little dance number. They kind of sing, they do a cool dance, and it kind of like cheers the kid up a little bit. And so yeah, after that, Sarah notices that the tiles have been changing, and so she's like, and then she's like, oh man, someone's been changing my tile. It was there she encounters a group of guards standing behind, like two pairs of guards standing behind some shields or whatever. There's two heads up here, two heads back there, and they have like a thing where they argue a little bit. And so yeah, they give Sarah a riddle. She solves it, and they go, and well, she goes behind one of the doors, and it falls down a pit covered with hands. They grab her, and then this part's cool. Some of the hands, they come together and make like faces, and they talk. It's like, we're helping hands. It's like, where do you want to go, up or down? And it's just like, down. Oh, she said down. Okay, and then they drop her, and then she's greeted yet again by Hoggle, who is there, and they talk for a little bit, and then she finally convinces Hoggle to help her out, take her a little bit through the labyrinth a little. And so yeah, they travel together for a little bit. This part's kind of cool. They meet a bunch of, they're navigating through the caves under the labyrinth. They see that there's like a whole bunch of faces in like the cave walls, and they talk. That's pretty cool. And then Jareth shows up. Jareth's there. Is like, hey everybody, how's it going? Oh hey Hoggle, good to see you. Say, you're not helping her, are you? Because I'll put you in like the bog of eternal stench if you are. And then he's like, oh no. You see, I was actually taking her over to the beginning. And then she's like, what? And then Jareth looks at her and he's like, hey, how's my labyrinth going? And she's like, oh, it's a piece of cake. And then he's like, all right, well, here, let me take a few hours off of the timer so that you can, to like raise the stakes a little. So yeah, of course the clock is ticking. You have to reach the castle, or else your brother will turn into a goblin and stay in the castle for the rest of eternity. And of course she doesn't want that. So yeah, after he leaves, they encounter a giant drilling machine run by some goblins. Hoggle calls it the Cleaner. And so afterwards, they find a ladder, and then Sarah's like, "Wait, you're really taking me to the beginning? Some guy you are?" And then he's like, "No, I made that part up so that Jareth doesn't stays off our back. You see, I'm kind of like a coward, and I'm like really afraid of him and all that." They emerge from the cave. Now the labyrinth now has a different look. It's filled with statues, and it's got some nice hedges around them and whatnot. And then he's like, all right, this is as far as I can take you. You're on your own. And she's like, oh, come on, man. You don't want to stay with me a little bit longer? And then he's like, all right, fine. Yeah, they walk for a little while, and they meet a supposed wise man or whatever. They go up to him and ask for help, and apparently this guy's kind of cool. This one's kind of cool. He's got a wise man or whatever, but he also has like a bird on his head, that like talks and whatnot. I call him Bird Hat. That's cool because he has a bird hat. But ultimately, he just kind of told the two a bunch of just random nonsense. And so they walk for a little bit more, when all of a sudden they start hearing a bunch of growling, and then Hoggle near himself, and he runs away. Sarah goes over to where the growling is coming from, and apparently there's like this big hairy beast or whatever hanging up, and there's like a bunch of goblin knights trying to, I don't know, agitate him. And apparently the beast has like, I don't know, rock powers. Apparently he can like move rocks at will. So he moves a rock near Sarah, and she throws it at the goblins, and they kind of cause a little bit of mayhem. The rock just keeps going back to her, and she keeps throwing until they leave. And so then Sarah brings the beast down from the trap, and apparently the beast's name is Ludo. So he's actually despite his big size and slightly disturbing look, he's actually very gentle and kind. And so yeah, Ludo agrees to help Sarah on her quest. So they walk for a little bit more, and they go to a bunch of doors with like those door knockers rich people have that have faces, and apparently they talk. After a while, they go through one of the doors. They, reach a forest and whatnot. And after a little bit, Ludo just, falls through a trap door. Well, Sarah's on her own again, or so it thought, until she is greeted by a group of, I don't know, they're called Fireys. They're a bunch of monkey creatures. I really like this part too. They have like a catchy tune. They all sing like a catchy little tune, and they're like trying to annoy her and all that. They have like cool dance moves where they pull off their body limbs and do dances. Like like how cartoons work, like how you take the arm off and the arms could still like move and stuff. They kind of do that. Anyways, Sarah then escapes the Fireys, where she's greeted by Hoggle again. He's like, "Why'd you run off like that?" I got there. And then Hoggle's like, "I got scared, okay?" And then they have a moment, and then after a while, they approach what is called the Bog of Eternal Stench. This is kind of weird. It's like a swamp, but like the bog water, it like really smell. It's like the worst smell ever, and well, it's kind of weird how that works actually. Apparently, if you so much as dip a toe into this swamp water, your entire body will smell for the rest of your life. You gotta try their best to not get into the bog water, which apparently also bubbles and makes gross noises like belches and fart noises. Yeah, they eventually meet Ludo again, so that's pretty cool. And then after a while, they reach a rickety bridge and ravine, where they also meet a new character by the name of Didymus. He's kind of like a fox character with like a Baron outfit. He's like, "What are you doing here? This is my home. I'm shall pass. How about you?" And then he's like, they fight for a little bit, and then he's like, all right, looks like we've reached a standstill. Tell you what, why don't I join you on your quest or whatever? And of course, he's greeted by of course, he has a noble steed, which is a fluffy dog, which is cool. So yeah, thanks to Ludo, they make like a rock bridge or whatever to cross the swamp. I don't know, when a kind of Hoggle kind of like went ahead, like while they were having that fiasco with like the bridge being out and all that, Hoggle went on ahead, where he's greeted by Jareth again, and Jareth is like, all right, here's the deal. I want Sarah to kind of like forget about this entire quest or whatever, so that the time will be up and she won't reach the castle in time. So why don't you give her this peach? And yeah, and he's like, I don't want to do that. And then he's like, you want to go to the Bog of Eternal Stench again? Because I can still do that. And he's like, all right. After they get out of the swamp, Sarah then gets hungry, and then Hoggle, still covered in guilt, gives Sarah the peach. She takes a bite out of it, and I don't know, she kind of, passes out, starts hallucinating and stuff, and I'm just sitting there like, what's going on here? What was in that peach? Is that weed in it or something? And then we get to one of the unique parts of this movie, the ballroom scene. Apparently, Sarah's hallucination involves her having a costume change and is in a ballroom surrounded by all kinds of people and Jareth. They dance for a little while, but eventually Sarah becomes self-aware and escapes. And she wakes up in the middle of a junkyard. There's like an old lady there too. She's like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, you wanna like go somewhere with like all this really cool stuff?" And they go into this one place that apparently looks an awful lot like Sarah's bedroom from, the real world. And then, I don't know, she doesn't remember stuff on that. And then she's like, wait, wasn't there something I was supposed to do? And the junk lady, she's like, yeah, what? Don't worry about that. You got all this cool stuff here. You wouldn't have to leave and all that. And then at one point she reads the Labyrinth book that was in there. And then at one point she's like, oh, I have to rescue my brother. And then of course the illusion breaks, and I don't know where the junk lady goes. Maybe she died. I don't care. I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, they were then reunited by Ludo and Didymus, where they reached the gates of the Goblin City, which is like right where the Goblin Castle is, where the brother is. They're almost done. They just have to go through the city and stop Jareth. And then, once they, I don't know, get into the city, they encounter this giant goblin mech. That's actually kind of cool. And, then suddenly Hoggle gets the balls to fight the thing. Jumps up, throws the goblin that's been piloting the whole thing off of the mech, and he kind of tries to control it for a little while, and then he's like, oh, the thing's gonna blow, I gotta get it off of here, and then the thing explodes. And so yeah, Sarah and Hoggle have like a little moment where she's like, where Hoggle's like, I'm really sorry, Jareth told me to give it to you, I'm really sorry, and then she's like, it's okay, I forgive you. And then he's like, wait, for real? They fight through the city, which is almost abandoned, at least until the goblin army suddenly shows up, and they have like a really fun chase scene where they run around the city, and the goblins are there too. I don't know, thanks to Ludo and his rock powers, he managed to summon an army of rocks that chase all the goblins away. And then in all the chaos, they reach the edge of the goblin city and make their way to the castle. And of course the kid's not there, and this is the part where Sarah and the other guys part ways, and they're like, hey, if you need us, just give us a call, alright? And Sarah's like, alright, cool. And then she goes up to face Jareth on her own. And she, Toby, and Jareth are all in different areas of this really big room. It's like it's like one of those really trippy staircase optical illusions. You know the ones. And Jareth sings a little song that's, I don't know, a little forgettable. And then it's just, they chase each other for a little bit, and then Sarah basically defeats Jareth by reciting the big line from the book where the hero defeats the Goblin King by saying, "You have no power over me," and then he dies. I'm not really sure how that works either, but that's how they explain it in the movie, I guess, or whatever. And so then Sarah then wakes up in the parents' bedroom where Toby is. Toby's there sleeping in the crib. And then there's one of the teddy bears that Sarah has. I forgot to mention that she has an abundance of teddy bears, and she got pissed in the beginning because Toby took it or whatever. And she kind of gives it to Toby, and it's like, alright, I guess it'll be alright if I give him this one. Then the parents come back, and she's chilling in a room, and then Sarah sees Ludo, Didymus, and Hoggle through the mirror, and they're like, bye. And it's like, if you want to see us again, just give us a call. Wait, you mean you guys can come here? And well, in that case, and there's like a fun little finale where Sarah, Hoggle, Ludo, Didymus, and a bunch of the other characters, Bird Hat, the Fireys, handful of the goblins. They're all having like a fun little dance party in Sarah's room, and then the movie ends. Yeah, the movie overall was pretty cool. The characters were awesome. I expect nothing less from Jim Henson, and well, the designs are a little, but you know, they're still fun. Soundtrack was pretty cool, especially since most of the songs are sung by David freaking Bowie. Yeah, I give this movie 4 stars out of 5. So yeah, this movie was pretty cool. I'd love to watch it again with the family one day. So yeah, that'll be it for this episode. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.